student of God. The word student is either respected or disliked, depending on what your relationship with the word student is. The fear that most beloveds have is that to be a student is to be degraded, downgraded. Like all the work that you've done in the world came to almost nothing. And then you have to revert back, or what it looks like reverting back to becoming a student again, when secretly you may have wanted to be the teacher or the knower. And so it can be that that title, that understanding, is a turnoff. And it takes a lot to warm up to it. It's important to recognize when there is a restriction of some kind that's self-imposed. And when that occurs, it's so essential to want to see what it is that's in your way. But how can you look to see what's in your way if you are battling with it in your belief of not having worth? And of course, all of us that became the student, almost without exception, everyone that became a student was battling for their worth, wanting to excel, wanting to be the knower, at least be the favorite of some kind. All of those elements are restrictions self-imposed. And it's to realize that everyone is coming from the same place. You don't have a leg up, you don't have a leg down. There's no values and levels, degrees that can be put to the test almost. It's a quiet place. The learning is a quiet place. It's a quiet place that doesn't have any fanfare, especially in the spiritual journey. It is not a place of being singled out, being held in high esteem. There is high esteem, but it's not to the personality. It's not to the identity that has been carried. So then the ego mind says, well, I'm not respected here. I'm not seen as important. And that's the underlying urge, is the importance. In the spiritual journey, it is actually most teachers that will really step back, treating and seeing everyone in divine equality. No more, no less. And that place of quiet ease can be mistaken by the student as no one sees your worth. But the truth is, when that thought comes, it's because whoever is thinking it does not see their worth and can't really see their worth because they're, as I was, just beginning to step into possibility of a different world, the possibility of a new life that has no explanation really in the world. So you have to really go on faith. You have to really learn to trust in something that is beyond comprehension. Hold sacredly the name student. It says so much. It says you're willing. It says you want to learn. It says you want healing. It says you want union with all. It says you want the battles to end that you have walked with in your life. As you accept that, not just the title or the name, but the position, it's a humbling. It's a humbling to be the learner. And that's what it's really meant to help with, because without humility, you can't find love. You can't find truth. And that's what everything is about. Finding love, finding truth, coming home, allowing. I sang a hymn a week or so ago, and it was one that I don't sing very often. But it's important to realize that when it is sung, that it's sung when there is a healing that is being called for. When I received this hymn, it was the first time I'd ever received or been in the energy field of beautiful music that was coming through, is the only way to describe it. But having no past relationship with musicality, it was phenomenally beyond me. And what came that was beyond me was that the words came from the heart. They came from the mother's heart. The Divine Mother brought that hymn. And when the hymn came, it was an acknowledgement that the connection was real. And it wasn't a connection just for me, of course, it was a connection for everyone to take this hymn and, as they say, make it their own. Because I knew in that moment when I received it that it was the truth of everybody. Release me from this pain. Every thought that you have, every reaction that you have, every worry that you have is pain. that has no purpose, that has no value, of course. And it's not about swimming in it. It's not about wallowing in it. It's not about identifying it as you, but it is about the acknowledgement that the healing can only come from the divine. And the words can be so simple because love is simple. Love doesn't make elaborate for the sake of elaboration. The simpler, the easier it is to accept it, to let it take your heart, and let the relationship of the Divine Mother with your divine self be realized. It is real. All the divine guides that serve humanity are real. And they are the living proof that there is no death. Because most of them have walked on the earth plane in some lifetime. They came to learn. They came to be the students so that they could be of service and help each beloved find their way out of the insanity. All of them are real. They're not figments of anybody's imagination. They are the blessing. Whether you call them angels, whether you call them guides, whether you call them the Divine Mother, Divine Father, Holy Spirit, they are your friends. They are your companions. They have been your companions for every moment that you've been incarnated. In every lifetime, they have been with you. And the not being aware doesn't change the truth of their commitment. You are so loved. You are so held in devotion that they always are with you. So as I sing this hymn, it's yours. It's your hymn as every hymn is yours. It's for you to take it in like a long lost friend, a friend that you've been waiting for, a friend that can help lead you into a deeper truth. So as I sing this hymn, it's also to realize that every time a song, a hymn is sung, the beings or the being that brought the hymn originally is always present. It always calls the bringer of the hymn to participate in that love. Mother, oh my mother, release me from this pain. Mother, oh my mother, release me from this pain. This pain has been my life. Only you can set me free. Your love can set me free. Mother, oh my mother, release me from this pain. Mother, Oh, my mother, release me from this pain. I want to be with you. I want to know your love. Please help me, my mother, to feel your love. I want to know your love. Help me to feel your love. I want to be with you. Let yourself feel in your heart that calling, that longing. The spiritual journey is not a place of being cool. It is not a place of being the knower. It is the place of learning the truth of humility. Because in the world of the ego, there is no humility. There is only winning, knowing, proving, being right, and being known. But this relationship with this hymn, with all hymns, is meant to be the quiet inner place within you that you commune with the Divine Mother. Mother, oh my mother, release me from this pain. What a leap of faith that is, because you're directing that you now are affirming that it is through the love of God that we heal. It is through our willingness to come home that we heal. It is through our freedom of truth that we heal. Release me from this pain. Only you can set me free. Student of God, child of God, innocence of God, light of God. I want to be with you. I want to know your love. Please help me, my mother, to feel your love. To feel your love. This is a request. This is a begging that you want to feel the truth of love. It's within you. It is you. But it's finding that place where your heart really opens and your mind is freed from all concerns, all worries, all ideas, all battles, all made up ideas. Following the way of love. Mother, oh my mother, release me from this pain. What I knew when I received that hymn was that the Divine Mother, my Divine Mother, your Divine Mother, knew exactly what this pain was, knew exactly everything that was there to be healed. I didn't have to worry about whether the divine beings that would be doing the healing would have the right instructions. I didn't have to direct them. This is happening and this is happening and this is what I believe. No, they knew it all. God knows it all. Holy Spirit knows it all. The Divine Mother knows it all. Every thought that you've ever had, every idea that you've ever had of criticism, judgment, opinions, and all your longing. Every longing for everything, the Divine knows it all, recognizes it all, and can glean through and remove everything that's been made up. And what remains is your divine, eternal self, free of the burdens and the pain that you've put on your true self to cover it up. And now it is time for love to shine, to come home. I want to be with you. I want to feel your love. Please help me. It's not too much to ask. It's actually, it is the obligation of the student. Embrace happiness and joy without surrendering into the bonfire of love everything that's been made up. Gladly letting it go. Gladly. Mother, oh my mother, release me from this pain. The power of those words carries the power of your healing. It's not a separate thing. It's not a mental thing. It's that you have carried pain and suffering in your whole energy system from the moment you incarnated, how many ever incarnations ago it may have been. And as soon as you incarnated, all your guides were there, waiting for you to want something besides pain and suffering. You may have wanted it. We all wanted it. But most of it was wishful thinking or fantasies. And we fantasized about the perfect life, being rescued, being admired, being held as important, being liked. All of it was a search for love, for the search for the divine, because it was never going to be found outside. It was always waiting within, always. Mother, oh my mother, release me from this pain. In silence, a guide has entered this life in silence. His message is only heard in silence. Take a sip of his precious wine and lose yourself. Don't insult the greatness of his love, for he helps all those who suffer in silence. Polish the mirror between the breaths. Go with him beyond words. He knows your every deed. He is the one who moves the wheel of heaven in silence. Every thought is buried in your heart, and he will reveal them one by one in silence. Turn each of your thoughts into a bird and let them fly to the other world. One is an owl, one is a falcon, one is a crow. Each one is different from the others, but they are all the same in silence. To see the moon that cannot be seen, turn your eyes inward and look at yourself in silence. In this world and the next, don't talk about this and that. Let him show you everything, shining as one in silence. The fear of silence is a felt fear. It's something that most beloveds are afraid of the silence because your own thoughts are still there, being called to silence, but that empty, open space is somehow more fearful than many of the nightmares. And yet, love keeps calling you, your guidance keeps calling you to that silence so that you can see the beliefs that pop up and take your attention. When in the world we are lost in the fantasy and the trance, the words just are running, 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 running. Sometimes with no place that they need to go, but it's almost like some urge comes over many beloveds that says, I was never listened to and you're going to listen to me now. And then others with the same beliefs, the same belief that they weren't heard, get more quiet, retreat. Bring your silence to God. Bring your thoughts to God. Doesn't matter which direction your pain goes, whether it's, I want everybody to hear me because I wasn't heard, or I wasn't heard and I'm still afraid of being heard. God already is aware, Spirit is already aware of every single moment that you had those thoughts, every single idea that you've had of who you are. The divine is already very aware of what your healing is needed and where it's needed and how it's needed. That's why in the spiritual journey, one beloved goes through something and you don't have a clue why. Well, you can't have a clue why because it's the learning for that beloved. And you're asked just to hold that truth of God for each beloved and to take it in yourself. Mother, oh my mother, release me from this pain. You may have thought that you acknowledged your pain in the past, but mostly what beloveds have done with pain is to talk about it in circumstances, situations. If you really touched into the pain, it would be possible that you would start screaming. It would be possible that you would be rolling on the floor. If that is where God takes you, let it take you. I can't tell you how many times I rolled on the floor, how many times I was a blithering idiot, crying, 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 thinking there can't be more, and then there would be more. All those tears, all those screams, all those wails were all purposeful. They weren't for drama. They weren't for glamour. They were, and they certainly weren't glamorous. They were necessary to clean out the energy fields of lies, surrendering to God all the lies Release me from this pain. This pain has been my life. Only you can set me free. Those aren't words of observation. They're the heart that is so tired, the heart that wants so much to rest. And the rest comes in the silence. The rest comes in the surrender. The rest comes in the trust that only love is true, that only love is real. All the rules that you've made up is one of the classrooms of God's love. Look at all the rules that you've made. Be honest. Go within and see all those rules that have bound you to a false identity. And know that all those rules that were made up are part of the pain, part of the imprisonment, the self-imprisonment that you've agreed upon. But now, time to let it all go. Is healing possible? Yes. Yes, yes, yes. The insanity is not the truth of you, but it's also a place that has to be recognized, not because it's bad, wrong, sinful, but because it's held secretly. All the insanity, all the thoughts. Once you begin to acknowledge the thoughts, what is this for? What is this? What did I want from this? You start to see the insanity. And when you start to see the insanity, the ego doesn't like it, for sure. And yet it's essential for that insanity to come to the light, to be released, to be acknowledged for what it is, insanity. Imagine that instead of saying things that try to prove your worth, instead, every time you had a thought, you would say, oh, there's another insane thought. And really be so glad that you're seeing it, being so glad that it's coming to the light, that it's coming out of the hidden trenches of the mind. Bring it forward and see it for what it is, and then surrender it into the bonfire of love. The humility of love is exquisite. To be free of proving your worth, to be free of any type of wanting to succeed, excel, win, and just to be in this moment, in God's love, to be enough, to be and accept that you are the light of God. Nothing to do with it. You don't have to put up a sign, take out an ad. You'll know the truth within you, and you rest in that truth. You rest in the perfection. In this world and the next, don't talk about this and that. Let him show you everything shining as one in silence. The most powerful realization is that there is nothing outside your own mind. All of the endless projection about what others do or don't do is in your mind. It's just in your mind. It's not out there someplace. You are perceiving something outside you that came from your mind, and it's showing you what you believe. Let it show you, and be so grateful that you get to see what's in your way every single time. There's a healing because the thoughts of pain and suffering are brought to the light. And just imagine if you take this one principle of truth and realize that nothing is outside your mind, you would never be upset with anyone ever again. You would never be upset with anyone because, oh, I guess I better get to work. I just had meaning of thoughts that have no meaning. I've just put somebody on a pedestal or I've put somebody in the trash can. Either way, none of it is true. My opinions about the world mean nothing. And that's where you rest. Thank God. Only love is real. Thank God. Nothing that you have thought ever that was not loving has any reality. It didn't harm anybody, didn't do anything, just as equally you were not harmed as well. It's the opening of that awareness that you are still the perfect light of God. It's never changed. Never changed. And that you have all the gifts in silence. You have all the gifts of all the help that comes in every form possible. Forms you didn't even think were possible become your teachers. Imagine going into a river under the idea that you're going to be trusting someone to hold you under the water. And when you go under that water, instead of fear, you hear these voices of love that are speaking to you. You didn't expect it, didn't ask for it, didn't prepare for it, but there it is. And what do you do with it? You make it a show and tell? Wow, what I saw, you wouldn't believe. It was just the most amazing thing. It becomes an experience. Or when love speaks to you in that place of silence in all different circumstances, that you enter with them and you hold it in your heart. You don't even know what the message is yet. It doesn't matter. You will, because they don't make mistakes. Those divine beings don't offer teachings without being very precise. And there is no limit to how love communicates. It's just being open and available. And you can't be open and available if your mind is wrapped up in the self ideas. This is why it's all in silence, so that you can hear those whispers, those sweet whispers of love that are wanting to communicate with you. They're always there. They were there every moment that you've been incarnated. But it's just learning to listen to them, to hear them through the silence, through the willingness, through love. A guide has entered this life in silence. His message is only heard in silence. Lose yourself. Don't insult the greatness of his love, for he helps all those who suffer in silence. It isn't just about suffering, it's about the yearning to come home, to be at peace, to be free, and to see everyone as your beloved. Everyone, no exceptions, only love.